May the 4th be with you. I'm sure you'll be seeing this all over the internet today, which means that today must be Star Wars Day. And what better way to celebrate than by opening up an entire box full of Angry Birds Star Wars 2 prototypes. Indeed, the whole box. And yes, for those who are new to my channel, these are legitimate Angry Birds Star Wars 2 prototypes by Commonwealth from Toy Fair 2014. In fact, I made an entire documentary dedicated to these, so be sure to check that out if you haven't done so already. I've also made several videos detailing how all of this is even a thing in the first place. For my returning viewers, if there was a character that hadn't appeared in the previous unboxings that you've been after, there's a good chance it's inside this box. If not, better luck next time, though admittedly after this unboxing, our supply on these will be significantly diminished. But everything that does appear in today's unboxing will be going up for sale on my eBay shop starting May 11th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Though, fair warning, these items will not be cheap. They are dual licensed, they are highly desirable, and of course they are limited in quantity. And plus, I don't want to see them ending up in the wrong hands. That would be rather unfortunate. Don't blame me though, I'm just the middleman, okay? If you don't want to buy these, I'm not going to force you to. Special items require special buyers, and that's ultimately what we're after. But anyways, enough of my rambling, you're here to see merchandise. So let's get right into it. Was that lame? It probably was extremely lame. Let me try that again, okay? That opened up pretty easily. Had more difficulty than that in the past. Sure, got that. Alright. So I think we're gonna start small to large. That makes coherent sense to me. Get rid of this. Alright. And we start. This is gonna be a treat. We have Sith Apprentice Anakin. Bet you didn't expect to see this little guy. This is the 4-inch mini I talked about in the Star Wars 2 documentary. This is the face of Angry Birds Star Wars 2, the main character of the prequels. And they didn't even bother to bring it to Toy Fair 2014. I mean, how does that even happen? To be fair, this is the oldest plush of all of these. He dates back to December 2012, as I recall. And he's just brilliant. Just give you a chance to look at him. I mean, we didn't even know about this guy until I got involved with Commonwealth. There isn't much more to say about him. I mean, rip to your wallet if you decide to buy this guy, but just know you're getting a wicked cool piece of merchandise. And big sad, I mean, he's the only duplicate of the 4-inch minis that we have. The rest of them are one of one. So that's the Padawan Anakin, that's the 3 Obi-Wans that I showed in the Star Wars 2 documentary. How about the young Anakin from Episode 1? That one we still haven't found. I have no idea where that one is, but I fear it's moved on to greener pastures, aka it's gone. It's incinerated.
Good morning, Commonwealth Collection.
That or it's hopefully still with the factory in China, but I sincerely doubt that. But we have a second Sith Apprentice, Episode 3, Anakin. So this is your chance to get this extremely iconic piece of Star Wars 2 merchandise. It's got the Commonwealth tag, 2007 copyright date, which is completely irrelevant. I mean, we've seen many copyright dates that just don't matter. This is another one of those. Hair is super soft, got matte fur, this nice tunic, embroidered belt, little lightsaber, perfect. I mean, he just doesn't have his scar. That would make him even better, but he's based on one of the really early renders of Anakin that they did up for Star Wars 2. It's really early when the game was first being developed, but there he is. 4-inch mini, Sith Apprentice Anakin. And he is the only 4-inch mini that we're going to look at today. Let's continue with the theme of matte fur. Here is the 5-inch slave Princess Leia, finally coming to the Commonwealth Collection. I don't know exactly why this plush in particular used matte fur, but It's just what they ended up doing, I guess. And I still maintain that she has the perfect Stella face. I mean, look at that. It's perfectly neutral. It's a great plush overall, too. This is one of the few characters in here that isn't actually a playable character in the game. So, I mean, of course you can play as Princess Leia in Star Wars 1 and 2, but this particular Princess Leia, you can't play with her. And don't you dare take that out of context. Okay, moving on. Swiftly moving on. Don't get in trouble. Don't you dare take that out of context. Let's go with the second variation of Greedo. This is the 5-inch variation, of course. Some people will prefer the Star Wars 1 render, others will prefer the Star Wars 2. I happen to be in the latter camp. I think this particular plush is far more representative of what we actually see for the purposes of that game. If you look in the character encyclopedia, this is what you'll see. And mainly I prefer it just because of the eyes being the correct color. These are actually purple, unlike the silver on the first variation. You don't have that weird mohawk-like thing, and you have the slimmer nose. I mean, actually, we can compare right here. We do have the first variation of Greedo from Star Wars 1. This is more Star Wars 2. So, like I said, some people will prefer the first version, others will prefer the second version. I think I would like the first version more if it just had the correct eyes. It'd be cool if there was a version out there that did have that, but not that I've seen anyways. So, we got the Greedo twins, Star Wars 1, Star Wars 2. You pick. You have your pick of the litter here, I suppose. Kinda. These are the only ones that we have, at least in the 5-inch scale. Alright. Moving on. We have the General Grievous Pig. We've seen this guy in the past, right? I think we've seen several of the 5-inch one. Seems like they made quite a few of this guy. Don't exactly know why. Doesn't appear to be any different than the previous ones. Still has all the inaccurate colors and all that. Has the weird lavender colors. At least the eyes look cool. Just, I don't know what the decision to use brown for this was. I mean, that's really strange, but great looking plush nonetheless. I think it looks good as a standalone item. You have no reference to the game at all. You had no idea that the General Grievous in the game looks nothing like this. I think you'll enjoy this plush more. And clearly people have, because we've had good success with selling General Grievous. Helps that he's a quite popular and iconic Star Wars character. Yes. The Negotiator. Alright. Here we have the Silver C-3PO, not to be confused with other silver droids from the Star Wars universe. This is the second variation, so this is probably the better variation, at least in terms of its appearance, with respect to the game. Though I think I've stated before that I like the darker, earlier version, just stylistically, but I think objectively speaking, this looks more like the game. And, I mean, it is just a recolor of the Wave 2 C-3PO plush. I mean, quite literally, it's the same exact pattern. There's nothing different about these. But, there you go. Silver C-3PO. I may not go into as much detail on these here. If you want a more detailed explanation on any of these plushies, like I said, go watch the Star Wars 2 documentary. I think I say everything I can possibly say about all these in that video. Here is the really tiny Jabba. So this is the smallest size variation. There is the regular 5-inch. There's the slightly larger 5-inch. There's the 8-inch and the slightly larger 8-inch. All of them were measured in a different way because Commonwealth didn't exactly know how to measure a plush that looks like this. It's probably longer than it is taller, which makes it quite the dilemma. This thing has the Star Wars 2 hang tag, which for all intents and purposes is identical to the Tesco and Costco tag, but it's cool to see it's still on the set it was originally done up for. And, I mean, you just gotta love Jabba. Look at how amazing this plush looks. It's such a fantastic job. And it still baffles me as to how that 8-inch variation that was photographed at Toy Fair, I mean, how did that thing fit inside the retail display box? I mean, look at how long this guy is. There is no way you were getting that 8-inch variation inside that normal retail platform. I mean, that image is just an optical illusion. Credit to Commonwealth, though. They They set up that illusion well. But anyways, here's your chance to own the little Jabba. Super sick. These are all amazing. Anyways, here is the 5-inch first variation of Ewok, or Wicket, if you want to call this particular character. So this means it has the slingshot in the back, which I think is a worthwhile little detail. That makes the first variation superior in my opinion, even if it doesn't have the embroidered stitches or anything like that, but still has the bucktooth teeth. It's got the really fuzzy fur all over. It's got the really cool cloak. And this one even has the Star Wars 1 hang tag. Wow. Again, just amazing to behold these items. Just absolutely love these. And the Ewok is so adorable. What an awesome plush. I mean, you're telling me if they didn't release this thing, and they could have at least put it in a Star Wars 1 set. I mean, this thing just on its cuteness factor alone, I think this thing would sell. But then again, in 2016 and 2017, when they were selling those abominable hatchlings, those things did not do very well, despite everyone and their mom thinking they would, because they're an obvious cash grab. But this is something completely different. This is Star Wars versions. This is the Star Wars version of the Minions. Kinda. I don't know. But they have more plot significance than that. They're not useless, right? And super cool plush. You need this if you want to have a Star Wars 1 flock, I suppose. Alright. Let's move on with more Star Wars 1 characters. Here is the Crimson Guard, the Royal Guard. This is the final variation. There are quite a few variations. This is the one that relies most heavily on vinyl, as you can see. This one also has the Star Wars 1 hang tag, so a fitting tag for the game it comes from. And you want to put the cloak outward, like this. It's going to naturally rest like this if you put it on display, but just make sure to fold these out so you get this game accurate look. So the vinyl kind of sucks that they were using that, but I mean, it's held up well here. Just be sure you don't put this guy in sunlight, dry environment. Just keep him nice and enclosed, maybe in a case. I feel like I should, I mean, don't be me, okay? Don't be me and just putting all these prototypes on the shelf. I mean, I dust them, I take care of them and all that, but you don't want to be doing that. You just want to put it in a nice enclosed, maybe acrylic case, and make sure it's out of the sunlight. Alright. Moving on. Crimson Guard, super cool plush. Just wish that second variation had the fork and had the eyebrows and didn't use as much vinyl, but what are you going to do? It still looks cool, right? Alright, here it is. The 5-inch Boba Fett. This is the final 5-inch Boba Fett that we have. This has, pound for pound, been the most popular character of the Commonwealth collection. Every time we have listed one, it is sold instantly, and for huge dollary dues, and I mean, I get it. Bubba is obviously one of the most iconic Star Wars characters of all time. I think a lot of his merchandise generally goes for big bucks, and the plush is no different. Now, this one is slightly different than some of the ones I've listed in the past. We've listed the second variation, at least the more final variation, twice, and we've also listed one of these more first variants once. That one had the 2D jetpack print on the back, so this is the first time the regular one with no jetpack first variation is showing up. This one has the hang tag, of course, the Star Wars 1 hang tag, which is obviously a nice little touch. And despite it not being the obviously superior second variation, I mean, this is your last chance. If you want Bubba, you gotta pick this guy up, and he will probably sell instantly, no doubt, but we'll see how that goes, shall we? Pretty cool. 5-inch Bubba. And then the last 5-inch plush, though only out of technicality, is this Jabba the Hutt plush. This is the slightly larger, technically 5-inch variation. Here's the regular 5-inch, and this is the slightly larger 5-inch. The hang tag on this thing is just absolutely massive for a 5-inch plush. And you think the regular 3.5-inch Star Wars tag is huge? Take a look at that. don't think I've seen this tag in person before. This one actually does have a style number, 93171. Not sure if that's reused from a different Star Wars plush, but it's here on Jabba, I guess. So there he is. This is more like your 6.5-inch Jabba, I guess. You call this your typical 5-inch scale, but officially they're both the 5-inch, just measured in a different way, I suppose. This one might be lengthwise, and this one might be diameter, but I'm not exactly sure. I'm not Commonwealth. I don't measure plush toys, and not that they know how to measure these things anyways. They're infamously horrible at that. Alright. Him over there. You over there. Alright, moving on to the 8-inch plushies. Let's start with Boba Fett, the second variation of Boba Fett. We just talked about this guy. This is not the 5-inch variation, of course. This is the 8-inch. Doesn't appear to have any enhanced details, interestingly, unlike that 1 8-inch that we looked at in the Star Wars 2 documentary. It's virtually identical to the 5-inch, really, just upscaled. It's got the kind of weird partially 2D, partially 3D jetpack back there. It's got the bullet gash and the tally marks up front. It's got the more game-accurate color. Super sick. I know there's a lot of people who have been looking for a Boba Fett in the larger scale because they collect the 8-inch, and we haven't put one up for sale yet. So there he is, the 8-inch Boba Fett. And because we anticipate it being such a popular character, we have two of them. This one, I think the jetpack is in a little nicer shape than the other one. But this one, interestingly, the tally marks have a gash in them. I'm not sure if that was intentional or if that's just a defect that's on this particular plush. It almost looks intentional. It looks like a scar. I'm not familiar enough with Boba Fett in the universe of Star Wars to know whether it was actually a detail that was on the character, but I don't recall it on Angry Birds, so that might just be a defect. But a second 8-inch Boba Fett. Make that 3 Boba Fetts in today's unboxing. And you can put his father in there too. Here is the Jango Fett plush. So, as I pointed out in the Star Wars 2 documentary, he is not identical to his son, Bubba. He's got some slight differences, most notably being the ears actually being exposed. And this is the second variation, which doesn't have the all-gray targeting rangefinder up here. It's got the blue accented one. This one has the partially 2D, partially 3D jetpack, and very curiously, it has a Star Wars 1 hang tag. Again, what's a large hang tag? But there's Jango. Obviously another extremely popular character in the Star Wars cognoscenti. And finally, the 8-inch variation for sale. No mold on it this time either, so obviously that's a plus. It's in perfect shape, actually. Alright, moving on, we have the second version of Greedo, yet again. But of course, this time it's the 8-inch variation. And take note of its hang tag, funnily enough, attached to his ear of all places. Kind of like some of the minion pigs that we've looked at, but it's the smaller scale Star Wars 2 hang tag. And on the back, I saw it has a style number, 93367. I believe all of these plushies have style numbers, but only some of them actually have a sticker that says what it is. And it's always going to be placed over the barcode, at least as far as I see. This one actually says HK102 on the hang tag, but I don't believe this comes from that factory. No. The touch tag on this guy says HK98, so the hang tag isn't even... I mean, if you want evidence that the hang tags don't matter, there's more evidence for you, I guess. This thing is just placed on here because it's what they had lying around, I guess. I think that can also explain why it's placed on his ear of all places. Of course, the plush itself is incredible. Might be even better than the 5-inch one, just because the 8-inch brings out the detail even more. Greedo. What a funky little guy he is. Next up, we have the second variation, and perhaps the more desirable variation, of the young Obi-Wan Kenobi. One of the other main characters of the prequels. him and Anakin, they're kind of the faces of the franchise, at least as it relates to those movies. And generally, as far as I've seen, the community tends to prefer this design of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I prefer the first variation just because I think the face looks more like the game. It's that side-eye look you typically see in all of his renders. And I think the facial hair color on the first variation is a bit better, but admittedly, the hair on this guy, and I think that's the main draw, is far more accurate and is, I mean, I think they're equally soft, but just a treat every time you get to touch that. Such an amazing hairdo. Gotta love that. And it helps that this guy is in perfect condition, and I hope you keep it that way if you buy this guy. Unfortunately, these second variations of Obi-Wan are one of one, so the 5-inch that we've kept in our personal stash is the only 5-inch one in existence. And same goes for this 8-inch guy. So this is your only chance of getting the second variation of Obi-Wan, with the lightsaber on the left, the pocket on the right, and the more accurate hairdo and this determined yet angry expression. It's an amazing plush. I think both the Obi-Wans are super cool. Doesn't matter which one you prefer, you're getting a good plush either way. Okay, here is a second Ewok. This is the second variation as well, quite fittingly. But because of that, it's also lacking the slingshot around back. But where it lacks, it gains some detail. It's got the accented belt going all the way around. It's got the extra embroidered stitches up here, on the side over here. And it's also got those glistening eyes that the first variation lacks. This one also has a Star Wars 2 hang tag. So it's got a style number as well. It's got 95680. So it's also got HK102, but of course the factory in this guy is HK98. So once again, another tag that was just kind of slapped on here. And do be careful, the sticker appears to be peeling off with age. Take care of that if you buy this guy. If you want multiple different sizes of the Ewok, so you might buy both the 5-inch and the 8-inch. It's up to you. If you're an Ewok collector, maybe consider that. This next plush you may not recognize quite at first, but I assure you, you know who this character is. Just looks slightly different than the one that we've looked at in the past. This, of course, is supposed to be the Snowtrooper pig, but obviously one of the earlier samples. It has this quite bizarre case of this double cloak, this double layer cloth here. One here, one here. And interestingly, somebody thought it was a good idea to use this guy as an art canvas because he has random pen markings on him. I mean, there's one up by his ear. He's got this bit on his forehead here. I think there's another one. Yeah, there's another one going zigzag over here. I mean, what the heck was going on with this guy? It's absolutely bizarre. I mean, if you pull the cloth up, it doesn't look so bad. It's a little cursed. But, the pen makes it look pretty despicable, I might say. But maybe you find this interesting, and, maybe you like this fascinating history. I have no idea why there's pen marking there. They want to indicate that they wanted to add detail here or something like that? I don't know. Is this like marking, this is where we want the sound chip to go? Who knows, man? Who knows? This thing is completely bizarre. And then this second one faces a similar dilemma to the first one, as this piece of fabric going all the way around and covering the whole body, including the face. If I flip it up for you, you can see it doesn't look too dissimilar compared to the regular Stormtrooper pig. Oh, that is really bizarre. And has almost these hand-done eye cutouts. Otherwise, the cloak would just cover the whole entire body, including the eyes, but obviously you want to see those dark black pupils. Almost looks like he's trying to cosplay as Ghost Pig. I don't think it's accurate to say, though, that this would be a budget Ghost Pig. Can't imagine him not going for a pretty penny, but I guess that depends if someone's into something like this. Maybe you prefer the Ghost Pig look, maybe you prefer the pen markings. Or maybe you prefer the final variation, which I guess I probably would. This guy obviously looks far more like the game, as the final one should. Feels actually quite a bit heavier compared to the other two that we just looked at. Can't imagine why. Is it just more stuffing? He has these, almost looks like sun-faded white accents going around the eyeballs as well. I have no idea where these have been besides the basement all these years. Where is history taking these guys? No clue. He's also got a big fat Star Wars 1 hang tag with the barcode with a white sticker over it, so no idea what the barcode actually says, and, well, I'll never know. There you go. 3 different snowtroopers. Development sample of development sample, development sample of development sample, and then development sample. Sure. That's kind of cool to see the lineage of the snowtrooper pig, at least the 8-inch variation, that is. And speaking of lineages, we have, yet again, the Royal Guard. Now, those of you with a keen eye will be able to tell that this is not a Star Wars 2 development sample. It is, in fact, a Star Wars 1 development sample, and the tush tag will bear that out. It is a generic 3rd gen tush tag, with no reference to Star Wars whatsoever. It's got HK98, no production code or anything like that. So if you didn't know, the Royal Guard is meant to be a part of that original mix of Star Wars plushies released all the way back in late 2012. And he kept getting pushed back until he was a part of that 3rd mix, which never transpired. And he was added to the supposed Star Wars 2 mix that also never transpired, because all of it was cancelled. But this is the best version of the Royal Guard they ever made, at least in my estimation. Just so happened to be the first Royal Guard that they made. It's got the embroidered eyebrows, it's got no vinyl at all, and it has the fork. Hard to beat this one, and you can see the downgrades taking place with this one right here. This one was also a part of that original mix of Star Wars development samples from the first game with this 3rd gen tush tag, but it's got the vinyl face. I think this particular design was later repurposed into the Star Wars 2 development set. This is probably the last design they worked with the original run they did in 2012. And in 2013, they resurrected it and changed it into the design that we saw in the 5-inch one. This one gets to keep the fork, but obviously no eyebrows, and it's got the kind of weird textured vinyl face. It's no contest, really. This one is clearly superior. Here is the first variation of Lando Calrissian. This one, of course, features the blue robes as opposed to the purple on the second variation. I think objectively speaking, the second variation is more game accurate, but this one, aesthetically, at least to me, it beats it out. Either way, you get this winning smile and the super stash, and you get a Commonwealth sewn-in label, copyright 2013 HK86. This one is in pretty nice shape. It's got some weird plastic fasteners that are on the underside. I don't know if you can see it under there. He's also got one in his hair. Might have to do a bit of cleanup on this plush, but otherwise, it's a pretty nice looking Lando. So, yet again, another character from Star Wars 1, repurposed for Star Wars 2. Or at least what we call Star Wars 2, what Commonwealth calls Star Wars Wave 3, which is a more apt name for it. And here is the Slave Leia, yet again, but of course this is the 8-inch variation, so you get the fluffy fur upgrade, which makes this plush so much better. Do I wish the 5-inch version got it? Of course I do. This one has the big hang tag on the side with the barcode stickered out. But you want the Star Wars 1 tag for a character that appeared in the cutscenes in Star Wars 1. What a fantastic looking plush. You get the cool braided hair in the back. Of course, you get the awesome Stella face. You get her little feathers coming out from underneath her hairdo. It's awesome. Of course, the bra for those of you who are into those kinds of things. Anyways, and then the last plush of today's unboxing is a highly anticipated one to be sure. It is Darth Maul. I know a lot of people have been bugging me about this one, and I don't know if this is the variation you're looking for, but here he is nonetheless, the first design 8-inch variation. So this one, of course, has all the vinyl detail for his face, make up those tattoos that he's known for. He's got these Dathomir horns that go all the way around, and he's got the gray tunic with this collar in the back as well, printed, very nice. And be sure you flip the collar up. You don't want it drooping down like that. That doesn't look nearly as good aesthetically. I believe this will be the second one that we put up for sale. First variation, I believe, was the same. Sans the not tush tag, the side tag that this one gets. So that's a nice little bonus. The barcode is stickered out. This one, of course, has the teeth up front, similar to the Go Helmet Pig that we've looked at in the past. That appears to be the only bit of the plush you may have to clean. Got some orange artifacting on there for some reason, but the rest of the plush looks good, remarkably, despite the vinyl. Testament to how well these were kept over the years. Darth Maul, obviously one of the better looking plushies in the set, right? I think we can all agree on that one. And a set chock full of them, right? And so, that'll do it for today's unboxing. Be sure you tune into the eBay shop, May 11th, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you have any comments, questions, or complaints, you can let me know in the comment section below. And with that I say, peace out.